Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle. I'm joined today by White House reporter Katherine Doyle. Katherine, you've been in the White House briefing room. There's a big topic that keeps coming up, and people don't seem to be satisfied about the answers they're getting. What might that be?
Biden's documents, his classified documents that he held in his possession for a number of years while out of office, and the answers that the White House is giving. I mean, they're really saying very little at the moment. They're referring pretty much every question to either the Justice Department, which is conducting its own probe, or to the White House counsel's office, which is really just giving a scripted answer that hasn't always lined up with what we're hearing at the podium. One of the issues recently was that we were assured that there were no other documents. The search had been completed. And then 2 days later, we discovered, upon a statement from the counsel's office, that more documents had been found.
So you've now answered more questions about this than other people. But the White House has taken the line that for legal reasons and for the propriety of the investigation, they're not the people who answer the questions about the documents. But they are the people who are out in front of the reporters every day. Has there been any discussion of maybe, since they're referring all of the questions to either the Justice Department or the White House counsel's office, making those people available to the White House press corps?
They've said that the counsel's office is available to reporters and that they're speaking to reporters. But as the public learns more about this, surely they want to know exactly what the counsel's office is saying without it being mediated by the press. At least that's the argument that some reporters have made in the room, and which the White House has dismissed. The White House is also declining to answer more simple questions about whether the president is willing to sit for an interview, for instance, with the Justice Department's special counsel, and is also batting back questions about whether they will comply with some of the investigations or probes that are brewing on Capitol Hill.
So one thing the White House does want to talk about is some of the plans that Republicans on Capitol Hill have. And there's one really big fight brewing right now where the White House has a pretty firm line on what they're willing to do in terms of negotiating with Republicans. What is that?
They won't negotiate with Republicans.
Over the debt ceiling.
Over the debt ceiling. They're saying that it's time for Republicans to raise the debt limit, and that it's been done before, and that there's no negotiation needed. So they're sort of at an impasse at the moment, although there are discussions that have been reported between Biden and some of Biden's staff and some Republicans.
I mean, because this is one of those deadlines that is kind of real, I mean, because things do need to get paid. So Republicans are hoping that they can get some spending reforms in exchange for raising the debt ceiling. White House says no way. They're
saying no, and that's the line that the press secretary has been holding to in briefings, and we'll see whether that changes as we get a little bit closer.
You don't have to be referred to the special counsel for that one, right?
You don't. No.
So Vice President Kamala Harris has been active during the midterm elections, talking about the abortion issue since Roe versus Wade was overturned. Now, the 50th anniversary of Roe versus Wade has happened. It's still no longer in effect because of the conservative majority on the Supreme Court. But the White House has made an interesting decision with Vice President Harris in terms of how she was used to talk about and where she was used to talk about the importance of the Roe anniversary.
She went to Florida. You know, that's the backyard of a top potential Republican future presidential candidate, speculatively, and one that other Democrats who've been touted as potential future leaders of the party have been sparring with openly over a range of issues. So the fact that she took that message to his backyard, to Governor Ron DeSantis's backyard, seems like she's spoiling for a fight, or that the White House is looking to put her front and center on an issue which yielded pretty good results for them in the midterm elections.
Rumble in DeSantis's backyard. I like that. Now, as you say, abortion was one of the better issues for Democrats in the midterm elections, and a lot of Democrats are crediting that with how they avoided a blowout, the expected blowout in November. But Ron DeSantis is somebody who did sort of defy that trend. He won pretty easily. So, is the White House hoping for a different result come 2024 if they take him on this issue in particular?
Ron DeSantis did very well with Democrat-leaning areas, and so I suspect that perhaps they're trying to animate some of those voters or animate other Democratic voters in Florida to show that they're not losing the state. I mean, DeSantis won it by a landslide, and also to show that they're competitive and that this is an issue that can still rouse some of their constituencies from his grip.
Right, and it is interesting that the Democrats don't seem to have given up on Florida since it's been historically a battleground state, at least for the last 20 plus years. Hanging chads, all that kind of stuff, don't know the results for days. That's not really the case anymore. There was a Republican landslide in November, and Republicans, the races have been close, but Republicans have tended to win a lot of the competitive ones. But Biden and Harris are making a stand there.
Yeah, it's a surprise. I think that a lot of Democrats were wondering what direction the party might take after the results in Florida over the midterms. And the fact that they think that it perhaps could be competitive or that it's worthwhile to try and make it so is interesting as Biden plans his re-election bid, which he's expected to announce soon. And so stoking some of the culture war fights that could be prominent issues in the next campaign seems like a tactical move on their part, both to raise Harris's profile and also to draw in a popular Republican governor into that fight.
So if Biden and Harris are able to be reelected, will their next stop be Disney World?
I imagine that they would love to make a stop there pending their schedules.
Thank you, Katherine. You can read Katherine and the rest of our political team's coverage in washingtonexaminer.com.